Hey guys, the Jericho2 here for runitwans.com and welcome to the fourth episode of my mini course. Turn raises versus turn Cbet in single raise spots. Let's get into it, shall we? I believe that turn raises versus turn Cbet in single raise spot is one of the most underused move in no limit hold'em. So whenever facing a continuation bet on the flop in a single raise spot, we have three options. Fold, call, raise. And some players might not notice, but we have the same three options on the turn when facing a turn Cbet. I'm saying this because a lot of people, they seem to forget that they have the raising option, the raising button. And from my coaching experience, like most people, they shy away from raising the turn as a bluff versus a turn Cbet. So it's an underused part of the game tree, and we are talking about the line check call, check raise when we are in the big blind versus UTG, MP cutoff or button open. So UTG but MP cutoff button opens, we flat in the big blind, check call, check raise. The logic that I often see behind people not wanting to raise bluff on the turn versus the turn Cbet is that they say big hands would have raised the flop. People bet the turn with too strong of a range, making raising as a bluff pointless. I don't agree with those two statements. People do bluff bet the turn, especially at mid stakes, even with the overbet size, as we shall see in this video. Another thing too is our big hands, they must slow play the flop at some frequency. You're not always going to raise your big hands. Yeah, most of them will raise on the flop to a very high frequency, but you have to bring some of them to the turn as well too. So there's that. And there are some turn cards that will favor big blind's range, sometimes way more so than in positions range. So those can generate some good opportunities to raise bluff on the turn. Why should we do it? Why should we raise bluff on the turn versus a turn Cbet? The pros of bluff raising the turn is that it's an incredible show of strength, especially against overbet. So take a look at this. Like, let's say MP opens, we're flat in the big blind. They bet flop, we call. They bet the turn, overbet, and we raise. This is a massive. This is really hard to think that it's ever a bluff after we call flop, then we raise turn, and doing this versus an early range shows strength twice. So it gains a lot of respect. It also balances out your values. So whenever you have like a set that you still play on the flop and you're raising it on the turn, or you bang the straight on the turn, like this is a good way to balance your value, not to always be nutted in that spot. Otherwise, like if they take a look and they see that you have a turn raise percentage of like 6%, it's like pretty easy to fold everything. But if you're raising turn like 12, 13%, then it's much harder to defend. They kind of have to defend a bit wider. It's hard. So you get paid more with your value in that way. It also puts in position in a really tough spot. So in position is pretty good. Is doing really fine before that. Open pre, bet flop, bet turn. Once it get raised on the turn, like the alarm bells should go off. It's like, okay, like I thought I was doing really well. Now I'm getting raised. Am I gonna be able to see a river? What should I continue with? So it kind of puts a dent in the tracks. It's kind of have to rethink everything, which I think is really good, putting people in that kind of spot. And the last point that I want to mention is that big blind gains initiative, which is great. Like we're not only in defend mode, we're not only in defense mode anymore. We gained initiative by raising, and then on the river, we usually will be able to play better when we have the initiative. So let's say I raise the turn versus the turn C, but I don't get the fold, but I get to play the river first with the initiative, which I think can be very valuable. I'm not only in defense mode. I'm allowed to attack, which is great. So I think that this is there's not only merit for getting folds on the turn, but there's also merit for being able to play the river way better than if we had just check called. So yeah. And just to show you some examples, let's have a look at some hands of mine where I do end up bluffing the turn in the single raise spot versus continuation bet. And then we can compare my play to the solver's solution. So let's go. First hand. We got the H6 of spades here versus cutoff open. Very standard defend. King, queen, 4, two-tone. This will be a flop where some players will have a big bet strategy. Some players will have a small bet with range strategy. So it all depends. It's very player dependent. Mance decide to go with the big bet strategy. So this leads me to believe that he has a checking range here. Regardless, I am going to continue mostly with call here, given the texture of the board is really bad for me. I don't have a lot of nuts here. And so I'm mostly going to continue with check call. On the turn, it's pretty much a blank. He overbets. I think here calling would be a mistake just because we're calling out of position with 8i. It's not a great spot. So I decided that it was really hard for us to have a bluff here and that we would be slow playing most of our value on the flop versus that big bet size. So I decided to rip it in. We do have equity. We have the gutter. We have flush draw. Yeah, I thought it could be a cool play. It's hard for us to have a bluff. We got the fold. We raked the pot. That's great. Let's just have a look if the solver agrees with us or not. King, queen, 4. So check. Bet. Okay, we can see still betting a decent amount even if he's using a big size. And versus that big size, we're not going to be raising much. Mainly like 4s and like top 2. Some open-ended, some good flush draws. Our combo mostly just calls. 7 of diamonds. We can see that the main size for villain will be this big overbet. So we're going to run the tree from the turn. Let's see what the turn play is. So he bets again, overbet. Wow, it's so sick. He did get to bet on the flop like more than 50% of his range, and he still can bet more than 50% for that size of his range for that size on the turn. Wow, bets big. We can see we have around like 6 to 7% of raises. 8-6 isn't there. I chose the jam size, but the solver prefers the smaller size, like around half pot, 50% raise size. You have full to the jam after, yeah. I guess I didn't want to have leave him that option, so I went all in, which is not bad. We can see we have some value that does it. Queen 6. Wow. Pair plus flush draw goes all in. Okay, that's pretty cool. 6-5. Yeah, that's nice. 2-6-3. Okay, some 2 pairs here and there. So yeah, the play is good. Just the sizing thing. I can also fold too. I can always put the money in. Folding is always an option as well. So yeah, some queen jacks here too. Oh, it's queen jack nutted. All right, yeah. So yeah, so most of the bluffs are gonna be like flush draws with a straight draw, or as we can see here, pair plus draw. Yeah, and we were lucky enough to get the fold. So let's go to hand number 2. 4-3 of spades. So button opens, we flat. 10-5 deuce rainbow. Most of the time I'm gonna raise here, every now and then call. Now we get this king. And this king will be barreled a lot here. 4 value, 4 bluffs. I expect most players to just, if they have a bluff, to always continue on that card. Almost a 2x bet, over bet size here. Okay, what do we do? Click. I think that's the play. Yes, we're gonna raise a lot of our value on the flop, but it's such a dry board. I expect people to believe us that we kind of slow played every now and then something, and then we're now raising on a turn. And we do end up getting the fold, which was nice. But yeah, let's double check if this was legit or not. Okay, so button is gonna bet range here. That's fine. 4-3, mostly gonna raise. We're raising a lot on this board. We did call, okay. Turn is the king of spade, completing the rainbow. Check. And the solver really likes his bet size. And I believe he only has one bet size here. So let's solve for that bet size from the turn. Check. So he's gonna overbet a lot here. 45% of his range will be betting. And I think, like I've mentioned, I think it's going to be even more than this. I think that most of the bluffs are just going to be betting here, just trying to get a snap full. Bet our combo does raise. I didn't think it would be like 100% frequency, but yeah, it's always raising. The rest is basically two pairs, slow played value. 7-5 is funny. 10-7 too, I'm not sure. And then yeah, Queen Jack here is bluff. King Queen is value. So yeah, 2% raised. So there's not a lot of raising going on, but we did nail the 100% frequency bluff, which is great. And I believe it works even better in practice than in theory, because people are gonna bet too often on the turn there. So yeah. And the last hand for this video. Versus Demon Dunk. I think he is quite active in the Reddit Once forums, right? We call 10-5 of hearts versus him. Check call flop. Okay, that's quite standard. And then on the turn we get the ace and he bets, and I decided to raise, and the reasoning behind this is I am blocking the only set that I can have here, pocket fives. I am also blocking a lot of two pair combos with the 5 of hearts that I can have and that Demon can have. So Jack 5, King 5, Ace 5. I am also blocking the straight with my 10, Queen 10. So I figured, why not? Let's raise here. Let's see if I think it's a good play. We'll have to take a look. Demon calls, and this is where like having the initiative, taking the initiative on the turn, even though we don't get a full, now we don't have diamonds. It's such a good spot, I think, to bluff there. I think this is one of the best bluffs that we can have. And yeah, so I rip, we get the full. And yeah, so even though I didn't get the fold right away on the turn, I did get it on the river because of the initiative. But yeah, let's double check that this is legit. I think it's already been run from the turn, or yeah, because the flop was super standard. It was like 100% Cbet small size. So on the turn, this would be a size. And raising 10-5 of hearts, 10% raise. It prefers the diamond combo, which obviously has more equity, right, with the flush draw. You also have like queen 3. This is wild. Wow. Queen deuce, queen 4. 6-4 has to be a flush draw. Yeah, okay. King 5. This sets 2 pair. Queen 5 is good. 10-5 is good. Okay. Queen 7. Okay, that's with the flush draw. Tens if we flatted pre. That's going to be pretty rare. And then like a bunch of flush draws as well. Yeah, so it really likes diamonds, and it really likes having a queen mainly. It prefers having the queen to the 10, I believe. Yeah, but still it's in there every now and then. We could also call. So we raise, he calls. Then river was deuce of clubs. I would only jam here. So let's run it from the river here, create a subtree with just jam. So we can see, I think this is a really good bluff. And I think we win this because of our bluff on the turn, and then we have the initiative to jam river. 10-5 is really good. I think the queen X are probably, even queen X with a diamond is going in there. Not always the with the low diamond, yeah. When you block the straight with a diamond, it's also good. Only the diamonds are just giving up. Okay. Queen 5, that's super wide, but yeah. All right. So yeah, really good bluff here. And we did raise a card on the turn that was not so good for us. But we did have great blockers, and on the river, it was a slam dunk bluff. So yeah, really happy with our play there. So yeah, let's continue. What did we learn? As we just saw, most of the turn raises were solver approved. We either had equity going to the river or just very solid blockers, or sometimes we had both. Raising turnover bets is a play that generates lots of respect. Most people don't ever expect their bluff here. You also get to fold out automatically the bluffing part of their range. It's also worth noting that aggressive regulars will overbarrel those perceived good cards for them, such as queen or king, on the turn just to get a fold. I think there was a perfect case of this in the 4-3 of spades hand on the king turn. Like I mentioned when we were reviewing that hand, like I believe people overbarrel there a lot. So whenever they do that, raising bluff is a good way to punish them. But don't forget, make sure you also mix in some value so that you're balanced at those spots. If you're always slow playing your value and you're always slow playing the value on the turn versus overbets, and you're always raising as a bluff, like people will begin to perceive that. So try to balance both. Yeah. So yeah, just in summary, just like couple pointers, like don't be afraid to raise bluff the turn versus the turn Cbet. There's no need to be afraid. Make sure to have equity or a strong blocker adding to the river. This is primordial. And try to pick boards where it's believable that you could have slow played. So yeah, you need to tell a believable story, a story that makes sense, and usually people will end up believing you. Okay, so this was the Jericho 2 for runitons.com with my 4th episode of my mini course, Red Line Mastery. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in a bit. See ya.